I was playing Elden Ring the other day, again, for the gazillionth time, and suddenly I started remembering some of the most beautifully miserable moments I've ever had in gaming. Slave Knight Gale, Lady Maria, Sister Frida, and Promised Consort Radahn, a guy who slapped my butt cheeks harder than a random stranger's backhand in an overfilled afternoon subway train. The double shark encounter in Bloodborne's fishing hamlet, and navigating the vertical nightmare that is the Land of Shadow. These memories live rent-free in my head, and probably will forever. And all of them share one thing. They are all from DLC. FromSoftware are gaming magicians, under the leadership of the world's most charmingly sadistic mind and food appreciator.
Nice.
Hidetaka Miyazaki. They've been dropping banger after banger for over a decade now. But here's the thing. A lot of the most beloved Soulsborne experiences ever made didn't come from the base games. They came from the DLCs. And I genuinely think it's safe to say this. FromSoftware's DLCs are some of the best content the studio has ever released. It's like the moment they're working on additional content, all the shackles come off. They stop playing it safe, they go completely unhinged. And today I want to talk about why. Now, if you enjoy edited gaming essays like this one, consider liking the video and subscribing. Alright, back to the video. What makes this even more interesting is how different FromSoftware's DLC philosophy is compared to the rest of the industry. On one end of the spectrum, you have small story expansions, like in case of The Last of Us. On the other end, you have studios charging $25 extra for the actual fucking ending of a knowingly unfinished full-price game.
Merde, who would do something like that?
Well, you know, not calling any names here.
So $20 a deal?
FromSoftware plays a completely different game. Their DLCs aren't just more content, they're often almost an entire game on their own. There's a reason Shadow of the Erdtree was in the conversation for Game of the Year 2024. And there's also a reason people called it Elden Ring 1.5. Yes, it cost pricey $40, but also yes, it was absolutely worth it. At this point it's basically tradition. When a new Soulsborne game releases, we don't hope for a DLC, we expect one. And we expect it to go harder, darker and more insane than the base game. And FromSoft almost always delivers, except Sekiro! Never got a proper DLC, which still hurts me emotionally because it is one of my favorite games of all time. Now, it's widely agreed that FromSoftware's DLCs are harder than the base games, often with more complex level design too. But why is that? Well, let's dig in. FromSoftware has always been deeply experimental. The entire Soulsborne genre started as an experiment. A nearly failed project handed to Miyazaki with the words, "Do whatever you want with it, we don't care." And even today, with projects like Night Rain and Duskbloods, the studio clearly hasn't stopped experimenting. Whatever you think about Miyazaki's current late pubescent experimental phase, one thing is undeniable. They are not afraid to test new ideas. And DLCs are the perfect playground for that. Here's the key difference. When you release a base game, you need to sell copies. That means accessibility. You can't afford to scare players away in the first hour. Elden Ring is the perfect example. It's probably the most approachable Souls game FromSoftware has ever made. It gives you freedom, tools and options. Sure, later bosses will fold you harder than the internet folds you for disliking Clair Obscure Expedition 33.
Perhaps you should avoid completely the greatest museums of the world. Avoid the Louvre. I think you will not get it either.
But early on, the game teaches you how to survive. And it worked. The sales speak for themselves. Then the DLC dropped, and FromSoftware went completely batshit crazy. The bosses were insane, the level design vertical, hostile, and actively disrespectful of your time and sense of orientation. The Land of Shadow broke even the most hardened Souls veterans. Why is that? Because FromSoftware already won. They don't need to onboard new players anymore. The DLC isn't for beginners, it's for us, the lunatics, the diehards, the people who would follow the studio straight into hell and then ask for New Game Plus. The DLC becomes a challenge and a thank you. It's a meta game between developer and community, They try to break us. We prove the limit still hasn't been found. That's why Gale and Midir eclipse anything in base Dark Souls 3. Why Orphan of course traumatized an entire generation of PlayStation players. And also non-PlayStation players, because they never even got the chance to fight him. And that's also why promised consort Radahn made thousands of players briefly reconsider their will to live. Not me though. I'm very good at these games, you know. I absolutely never used Mimic Tier and I'm actually one-shotting most bosses I get to. But pleasing the die-hard fans isn't the only reason. FromSoftware also uses DLC to collect data and to learn. Take Dark Souls 1. Hot take incoming, Dark Souls 1 is not that hard.
What?
There, I said it. At least not boss-wise. Most bosses are slow, have tiny health pools and extremely limited movesets. Except Ornstein and Smaug, they almost ruined my life, but that's because my brain just shuts down in gang fights. Then the DLC arrived. Artorias, Manas, Calamite. Suddenly, aggression skyrocketed. Bosses had real health bars, real pressure, and players, well, they didn't leave. On the contrary, they loved it. And FromSoftware took notes. Dark Souls 3. Yes, you heard that right, we just cold-bloodedly skipped Dark Souls 2 here. So Dark Souls 3 became faster, more aggressive. Bloodborne doubled down even harder. But you see, without Artorias, there's no Abyss Watchers. Without Calamite, there's no Midir. And Bloodborne's nightmares would look very different without Manus paving the way. DLCs became FromSoftware's test labs. Slave Knight Gale broke me. I hated him, he felt unfair. He was too fast, he was too tanky. He distracted me from his melee attacks by throwing shit at me left, right and center. Then I learned the bastard, and I learned to love him. And I see his DNA everywhere, in Melania, in Mesmer, in Elden Ring's best fights. You might call it recycling, I call it learning. After suffering through Shadow of the Erdtree multiple times now, I'm genuinely excited for what's next. I don't know how far FromSoftware is willing to go, but DLCs let them push boundaries with less risk. And along the way, they strengthen the bond with their core audience. That's what defines FromSoftware to me. They don't rest on their laurels. They don't relax their efforts. They don't chase quick money. They learn and then they cook. Even now, while I'm absolutely terrified of their Fortnite arc, I still trust them more than almost any other studio. And that trust didn't come from trailers, from marketing. It came from DLCs. Now I really want your take. Do you agree? Do you think FromSoftware's DLCs are better than their base games? Let me know in the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want more essays like this, and I will see you in the next one.